The Mayans, the civilization that vanished. Picture this. Sprawling cities filled with towering pyramids, bustling marketplaces echoing with thousands of voices, astronomical observatories tracking the cosmos with uncanny precision. Then, in what feels like a cosmic blink, silence. Empty plazas, crumbling temples swallowed by jungle, an entire civilization, millions of people, seemingly erased from existence. This isn't the plot of a Hollywood thriller. This is the true story of the Maya, and after centuries of investigation, we still don't have all the answers. The empire that shouldn't have disappeared. Let's be clear about something crucial. The classic Maya weren't some struggling society teetering on the edge. At their peak between 250 and 900 CE, they were arguably the most sophisticated civilization in the ancient Americas. We're talking about a culture that invented the concept of zero, independently created the most accurate calendar in the ancient world, and built cities like Tikal, which at its height housed over 100,000 people in the middle of the unforgiving Guatemalan rainforest. The Maya developed a complete writing system, one of only 5 independently created scripts in human history. They were master mathematicians, astronomers who could predict solar eclipses centuries in advance, and architects who constructed pyramids that rival Egypt's monuments. Their agricultural innovations, including raised field systems and terracing, sustained massive populations in environments where modern engineers would struggle. So here's the million-dollar question. How does a civilization this advanced, this powerful, this intellectually brilliant, suddenly collapse? The haunting discovery. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, they found scattered Maya communities, but nothing resembling the empire that had existed centuries earlier. The great cities were already ancient ruins, consumed by jungle so thick that some remained hidden until the 19th century. When explorers like John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood stumbled upon these lost metropolises in the 1840s, they found something deeply unsettling. The cities weren't destroyed by war or fire. There were no mass graves suggesting plague or genocide. Instead, they appeared abandoned, as if one day the Maya simply decided to walk away from everything they'd built. Construction projects stood half-finished, their final hieroglyphs carved mid-sentence. In Tikal, archaeologists found elite residences abandoned with valuable items still inside, the ancient equivalent of leaving your jewelry on the dresser. Between 800 and 900 CE, roughly 90% of the Maya population in the southern lowlands disappeared. We're talking about millions of people vanishing over just a century. The last dated monument in many cities marked the sudden end of a 600-year tradition of recording history in stone. Then, silence. The theories that keep historians awake at night. For decades, archaeologists, climatologists, and anthropologists have proposed theory after theory, each more intriguing than the last. Was it war? Disease? Divine punishment? The truth, as we're discovering, might be far more complex and terrifying than any single explanation. The mega-drought hypothesis has gained significant traction in recent years. Sophisticated climate reconstructions from cave sediments and lake cores reveal that between 800 and 1000 CE, the Maya heartland experienced the most severe drought in 7,000 years. But here's what makes this theory chilling. The Maya had survived droughts before. What made this one different? Researchers discovered something remarkable. The Maya's own success may have triggered their downfall. To support their growing population, they clear-cut massive sections of rainforest for agriculture and construction. This deforestation altered local weather patterns, reducing rainfall and creating a vicious feedback loop. When the mega-drought hit, there was no buffer. Reservoirs dried up, crops failed. The complex water management systems that had sustained millions became monuments to hubris. But drought alone doesn't explain the pattern of collapse. Some cities fell quickly, others lingered for decades. Some were completely abandoned, others maintained reduced populations. Why? The war that never ends. Here's where the story gets darker. New evidence suggests the Maya weren't just battling nature, they were battling each other with increasing desperation. Advanced imaging technology, including LiDAR, has revealed something previous generations of archaeologists missed. Extensive fortification systems surrounding many Maya cities, some built in the final decades before collapse. The hieroglyphic record tells a story of escalating warfare among Maya city-states, particularly during the 8th and 9th centuries. Kings became increasingly obsessed with military conquest, diverting resources from agriculture and infrastructure to endless cycles of revenge and territorial expansion. Captive sacrifices increased dramatically. Monuments celebrated battlefield victories while agricultural systems crumbled. Imagine the scenario: drought strangling your water supply, crop yields plummeting, and your king deciding the solution is to attack the neighboring city for their dwindling resources, which of course prompts retaliation. The warfare becomes a death spiral, consuming the very resources needed for survival. The elite who destroyed themselves. But here's perhaps the most fascinating and darkest theory. The Maya collapse was fundamentally a crisis of governance. As conditions deteriorated, the Maya elite doubled down on the same strategies that had built their civilization, even as those strategies became catastrophically counterproductive. Kings commissioned ever larger monuments while food became scarce. They performed elaborate rituals promising rain that never came. Archaeological evidence shows that in the final decades, the gap between elite and commoner widened dramatically. Palace complexes expanded even as peasant housing degraded. The rulers demanded more tribute, more labor, more sacrifice, literally, from a population that was starving. Recent excavations at several sites reveal signs of social unrest in the collapse period. Destroyed royal monuments, burned palaces, and in some cases, elite skeletons showing signs of violent death. The commoners, it seems, eventually had enough. They didn't just leave their cities. Some evidence suggests they actively tore down the symbols of the authority that had failed them. The mystery deepens. Here's what keeps this mystery alive. The Maya didn't actually vanish. That's the twist that changes everything. Millions of Maya descendants still live in Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, maintaining languages and traditions that stretch back millennia. The civilization didn't end, it transformed. While the southern lowland cities collapsed, northern cities like Chichen Itza and Mayapan thrived for centuries longer. Coastal communities continued trading. The Maya adapted, survived, and persisted through Spanish conquest, maintaining their identity to the present day. So perhaps the real mystery isn't what happened to the Maya, but rather, what happened to that particular expression of Maya civilization? Why did the specific political and social structures of the classic period fail so completely, while Maya culture itself proved remarkably resilient? What the Maya teach us. The Maya collapse offers a disturbing mirror to our own age. A sophisticated civilization with advanced technology, impressive architecture, and complex social systems couldn't overcome the combination of environmental stress, resource depletion, military conflict, and governance failure. They had the knowledge to understand their world with remarkable precision, but couldn't, or wouldn't, change course when their trajectory became unsustainable. The jungle-covered pyramids of Tikal and Palenque stand as monuments to both human achievement and human vulnerability. They remind us that no civilization is too advanced, too powerful, or too established to collapse. The Maya vanished not because they lacked intelligence or capability, but perhaps because those very qualities weren't enough when confronted with the perfect storm of interconnected crises. And that thought, that brilliance and sophistication provide no immunity against collapse, might be the most unsettling mystery of all.